has a strong interest in lifestyle medicine and believes that believes that a healthy primary plant-based diet, regular physical activity, strong social connections, and meaningful service contribute to a happy life and a healthy body, mind, and spirit. She loves helping others in whatever capacity she can and is grateful to have a job that allows her to serve. So with that said, Miss Suzanne.
Thank you, Goose. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. They actually invited me a year ago, but my mother was really ill, and so I couldn't come then. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight. So I was asked to talk on eating healthy on a budget. And that, I think, with the way food prices are going right now, that is real. Well, it's always important to eat healthy, but it's really difficult right now to buy food. So I'm grateful to be able to talk about this. So ICAN, NMSU ICAN is a non-discriminatory entity. We don't discriminate against any protected class. And so if you feel that you have been discriminated against, I can help you file a complaint. But this lecture is brought to you from NMSU's Ideas for Cooking and Nutrition program. And we are a 100% federally funded program. And what we do is we teach SNAP education and the Expanded Food and Nutrition program. And so I like to say we help people not go hungry at the end of the month. So it's really, I feel fortunate to have this job. So 10 tips for eating healthy on a budget. So we're just going to go through these one at a time. And so we're going to start with, the first one is meal planning. Plan your meals. And so why do you think that's important? So that's exactly right. So you don't buy stuff you don't need. So I generally go to work first and I come home last. And when I walk in the door, what's the question I hear, ladies? What's for dinner? I hate that question. What did you thaw? What do you want? What do we have? So I hate that question. So when I saw this on Facebook a few years ago, it says, who knew that the hardest part about being an adult is figuring out what to cook for dinner every single night for the rest of your life until you die? And I thought, that is so true. So we want to meal plan. And so in order to be successful at meal planning, you have to schedule a time each week, same day, same time, and think about what you want to eat for the rest of the week. And so that you can plan your dinners around that. If it's a busy night, you might just want to have, some sandwiches or something. And you can certainly make a healthy sandwich. You want to consider what kinds of fruits and vegetables you want to include in that. And so as a dietitian, we always say, eat the rainbow. So make your food colorful with fruits and vegetables and things like that. So it's really important. And then you might consider a cycle menu. So do you know what a cycle menu is? So schools have cycle menus. They're usually 3 to 4 weeks long. So on the first day of the first week, they have spaghetti, and then they have chicken nuggets, and they have pizza, then they have a hot dog, and then maybe they might get something healthy in there. Anyway, so cycle menus are great. If you plan out a good cycle menu, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, so you don't eat it too often, that can really help with knowing what's for dinner. and it help with shopping too. So I like cycle menus. One of these days I'll get around to sitting down and planning one. Anyway. And then another thing that you can do is you can plan your meals and recipes around My Plate. And so My Plate is actually turned 10 years old this month. So it's been around for 10 years. And so it's a really great way to plan a healthy meal. So you want half your plate fruits and vegetables. You want some grains, and you want 50% of your grains or more to be whole grains. So last night I baked some bread in the bread baker because I'm not going to heat up the kitchen like that with the oven. And I did a mixture. It was slightly more whole wheat flour than white flour because I thought Emily might like a lighter loaf, but she likes the heavier loaf, so the next one will be mostly whole wheat, a little bit of white flour will lighten that loaf up a bit. So, and then protein. And so you can think about, low-fat proteins, or even better, plant-based proteins. So there's one of the really good things if you're struggling with weight management is to eat more beans. They're really healthy. They're a great source of protein. You want to mix them with a whole grain. But they're low fat, have a lot of fiber. And so what that means is when you eat a whole bean or bean, most of those, you might absorb some of those calories, but some of those calories you can't absorb because they have a lot of fiber. So those calories actually make it to the large intestine, which means you didn't absorb them. And so when people eat a really high fiber diet, which is a lot of fruits and vegetables, they will not absorb between 200 and 400 calories every day. That's a big difference. So if you're trying to lose weight, that's a good way to go. If you want to have, if you're a plasma donator, and a lot of people need to do that these days, eat beans and rice. You'll have a lot of plasma. It'll be a faster way to regenerate that. So these are really kind of important things. Okay, and then, so what else we got? Low fat or skim milk, or drink more water. Drink more water. That's really important. So again, when you're planning your meals and your recipes, you want to do your meal planning. So it's a lot of times easy to come up with the entree, but what are you going to serve with it? Do you ever struggle with that? All the time at my house. It's like, Anyway, so think about how you can incorporate, again, fruits and vegetables into those sides. You want to have a salad, pasta salad with a lot of fruits and vegetables. Do you want to just slice up some fruit and put it on your plate? It doesn't matter, but just add it, okay? And then what about meatless Monday? So when I used to teach nutrition at UNM, it's healthier to eat a diet that's mostly plants. So I used to tell my students, instead of meatless Monday, why don't you make it meaty Monday and go meatless the rest of the week? Because meat is expensive. It's expensive. And you can get all the protein you need from grains and legumes. So, or Taco Tuesday, so those tacos are lovely. They have a lot of vegetables in them. And again, we like tacos, but we usually make bean tacos, don't we? So, yeah, Emily likes bean tacos. Or Fish Friday. So again, fish can be expensive too, so you might want to just save up for a good thing. So, but what I used to tell my students again is I think, when you eat a mostly plant-based diet, it's a much cheaper diet. And so instead of buying really cheap cuts of meat, take those savings and buy something that's a better cut of meat, so that it tastes better, maybe it's less fatty, so things like that. So you can eat meat, but if you use your money well, you might enjoy that meat more, and then be plant-based the rest of the week. It takes some practice to be plant-based, and the only way to be successful at it is to plan your meals and to prep in advance. That's the only way to be successful at that. So again, planning your meals. So, and I really want you to think about when you go shopping now, because food is so expensive. And I went shopping this morning, and there were so many things that were out of stock. And so when you go shopping, if you have a little bit of extra money, buy a can of corn. Buy an extra can of beans. Buy something to just start building up some stock. During COVID, some people went really hungry because the stores were like locusts had gone through. But we are at my house, I have food on stock, and so we didn't ever have that problem. We got close with the toilet paper, but buy an extra jar of peanut butter, and if you have room in your refrigerator, keep it in there so it doesn't go rancid. Buy another 5-pound bag of flour. Just as you can, build up a little each week so that when it really gets bad, how many of you remember the trucker strike in the 70s? Do you remember what the stores looked like? They were empty. There was nothing in the grocery stores. But my family taught us, we learned early, you have reserves, and so and you don't have to go out and spend, a lot of money on reserves. You do it one can at a time. Every week you add another can and another can and another can, and you do it that way. You get some canned fruit, you get some canned beans, you get some canned vegetables, and you add it a little bit at a time. And so that's really important. And you look for the sales, right? You're not going to go out when it's expensive. You're going to look around and say, what's on sale? That's what I'm going to buy extra this week. And so that'll help you. So some things you might want to think about keeping in your pantry are oats. Okay, oats are great. You can store them dry as long as you keep them sort of, I should have taken a picture of my counter. I have a bunch of half-gallon canning jars with a lot of my staples in it. So I have one with rolled oats, and one with steeled oats. I've got 3 or 4 different kinds of beans, got 3 or 4 different kinds of pasta. They're just right there for using when So brown rice. So if you hate brown rice, then buy white rice. There's not a there's some nutritional difference. Mostly the brown rice has a lot more fiber, which you do want. But brown rice is not a refined thing, and so it has a lot of fat in it. So if you're going to store brown rice, and I do, you're going to need to keep that in your freezer so it doesn't go rancid. So whole wheat pasta, again, that's great to have. Whole wheat flour, and again, I keep my whole wheat flour in my freezer so it doesn't go rancid, because again, it has all that fat in it because they haven't taken it out. And then all-purpose flour, which, if you buy flour, maybe you don't care if there's weevils in it eventually. My father-in-law was a POW in Burma for 3.5 years during World War II, and they wanted to have insects in their rice because they needed the protein. We don't live like that yet. And so if you want to avoid that, if you freeze your flour for 3 days, then you can store it out of the freezer, your white flour. Okay? And then things like lentils and beans, those are great. They're cheap. They're so cheap and they're so good for you. And you can store them dry. They're good. You want to use them up within a year, otherwise they kind of get hard. And they take a lot more. Sometimes you can't cook them long. If they're old enough, you can't cook them long enough to make them soft. But you can grind them into a flour and put them in bread. Your really old beans and things like that. And then you want to buy canned food. So again, you want to look for low sodium on the vegetables. And on the fruit, you want to look either packed in water or 100% fruit juice. No light syrups, no heavy syrups. So that's a lot of extra sugar and calories that you don't need, and that's not good for you. And so things like tomato sauce, tomato paste, vegetable, fruit, soup, all sorts of things. So here's the thing, though. If you're going to build up your stores, buy things you like to eat. Because even if you're like missing out, even if food is scarce, there's some things you won't want to eat because you don't like them. I don't have any lima beans in my house because I don't like them. So, and then you can buy canned meats. And again, look for low sodium ones. Although low sodium ones will be a lot more expensive in the canned meat. So again, if money's an issue, look for the lowest sodium of the regular price stuff that you can find. So I was shopping for salmon for work the other week, a couple of months ago actually, and I chose the salmon that was 20 cents more per can, but it had about half the sodium in it. And so that, sometimes you just want to make a choice that way. So again, you want to plan your meals, recipes. You want to, you want to organize and keep stock. And the reason we do that saves time and it saves money. And again, always look for things when they're on sale. If there's a case lot sale at Smith's, I look at it. And so I do that. And so, but you can also store dried fruit. You don't need to store that anywhere in particular. You can store nuts and seeds. You can freeze nuts and seeds, but it changes the texture a little. So I have, again, glass jars. I almost never throw away a glass jar. If I have a glass jar, especially if they're the nicer looking ones, some I put in the recycle because I like all my glass jars to look pretty together. But I have a lot of different nuts in glass jars in my refrigerator. because they will last long. If you don't store them in your refrigerator, they will go rancid faster. So things with a lot of fat, brown rice, whole wheat flour, nuts and seeds, peanut butter, things with a lot of fat, almond butter, you want to store in the refrigerator if you have room, if you don't think you're going to go through it pretty fast. Okay? And then other things. So white vinegar. Why do we want to store white vinegar? We cook with it, but we can also sanitize things with it and clean with it. So I know some people use bleach on their countertops. Bleach emits a pretty dangerous gas. People who use a lot of bleach in cleaning often end up with respiratory disease. Chlorine gas was what they used in World War II to kill millions of people. And so, but vinegar, 50% water and 50%, just your 5% solution of vinegar. You spray it on your countertops and leave it for a few minutes, and then wipe it up, and you have a sanitized workspace again. So that's good. And then vegetable oil is good, and olive oil. Again, you definitely want to store your olive oil in your refrigerator so it doesn't go rancid. But I keep all my oils in my refrigerator, and I keep all my fat-soluble vitamins in my refrigerator. So vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D, so that they don't go rancid. They don't oxidize very fast, and so they last a lot longer. And then, salt and pepper and spices. And so again, when you're shopping and you're going down that baking aisle and you're looking at the spices, look at what you use and buy it when it's on sale. Buy a couple. Then you'll have it, because those will last a long time. And then here's another really important thing. When you have a pantry where you are stocking stuff with excess, you want to label it and date it. And so I have always some blue tape in my drawer in the kitchen and a Sharpie, and I put down when I bought it. And sometimes if I'm on the ball, which I'm usually not, I'll put down the expiration date. So your food is actually safe to use up to a year, even longer probably after the expiration date. Roadrunner Food Bank will accept expired stuff up to 1 year. So if you don't get it eaten within that year, before that expiration date, you do have some time. It might not taste as good. The texture might not be as good, but it's still safe. So up to a year. So, but if you label it and date it, that helps you rotate it better. So, number 2, organizing and keeping stock. So again, we've talked a lot about this, and I want to talk a little bit about organizing. So this is really kind of important for food safety. You want to separate things. You do not want your cooked meats with your uncooked meat, your raw meat. You don't want your fruits and vegetables or your bread with your meats at all. And so even when I shop, I usually like to, if I go to a cashier that has a bagger, I usually want to bag my own stuff. Because I'm not going to put a can on my apples that I carefully selected, which happens. But also I want to make sure that my food is kept separate so that it's safe. Most of us have broken almost all of the food safety rules, and we've gotten away unscathed. But tens of thousands of people every year don't get away unscathed. They end up in the hospital, and about 3,000, a little over 3,000 people die in America every year from foodborne illnesses. And so it's like, yeah, you can drive without your seatbelt, or you can ride your motorcycle without a helmet, and most of the time you're lucky. But when you're not, it's bad. And so that's kind of how it is with things. And so you don't want to cross-contaminate things, so that's how bacteria spreads. And so some of the things about food safety, especially as it's so hot right now, when you get those groceries home, get them put away. Get them put away, especially your meats and your fish, your dairy. Because those things, if you had I should have done a slide on this, on how fast bacteria grows in heat like this. It's crazy. It is crazy. And then, when you cook it, within 20 minutes of dinner, being done, get it in the refrigerator. And so just do that. Once you've cut up your fruits and vegetables, once they're cut open, get them in the refrigerator. And so here's another thing. When you have fruits and vegetables, so you want to wash them before you eat them or cook them. And you can, the least it's good, but it's not. It's like it's just the good way is to run it under cold water. Just rinse it with cold water. If you want to bump it up, then you want to use again that 50% vinegar and water solution that will kill the bacteria on it. So remember, I don't know, I think this was in the 90s. Does anybody remember when they had that big salmonella outbreak with the, oh no, it was E. coli with the cantaloupe? Do you remember that? It's because the sewage got into the water for the farm, and animal sewage, not human sewage, and it had the E. coli in it. And so a lot of people, the pickers picked the cantaloupe and they sent it to the store. And once people cut into that with their knife, they dragged all that bacteria into the fruit. And a lot of people got sick. A few people died. And so again, you want to wash your fruit, even if it's something that you're not going to eat the rind or the peel. Wash it anyway, because if you cut it or you bite into it, you'll drag that bacteria inside. And so you want to just, think carefully about how you handle things and get things refrigerated as fast as you can. How do you organize a refrigerator? So again, this is, you want to separate your raw foods from your cooked foods and your produce. And again, you want to label and date it. And so there's lots of things online, but you generally, you want your crisper stuff, again, separate. Your meat, see, it's on a tray. Those raw meats are on a tray. So if you can do that, because how many of you have had a package of meat that leaked some blood? We all have. We all have. And so if you put it on a tray or a plate, then you can contain that. And so just, think about how you do that. And so there's lots of different things online where you can look at that. So number 3, shop with a list. And so I brought a shopping list tonight, which we're going to give to everybody. And so why do we want to shop with a list? If I had $1 for every time I went to the store and came home with stuff, but not with what I actually went for the store for, I could have made a car payment or two anyway. So a list is great. It saves money. If you stick to that list, you're not buying anything extra that you don't need. And if there's something extra that you want, you can put that on there too. But again, you might put down those extra cans of vegetables, or you might put down a treat. I mean, sometimes it's hot and you just need some popsicles, right? So, and it saves time because you know exactly what you're looking for. You're not just sort of meandering down the aisles like you're at Costco or something. You're in there and you're out, and that's good. And you can identify the things that you need. So again, why am I going to the store? It's on the list. Also, when you have a list, it does focus you so that you can make better choices. So you've done your menu for the week, or maybe you've done a cycle menu, even better. You know what you need. You've looked in your pantry. You know what you need to supplement what you have, and you put that down on your list and you go. And so it helps you save time, helps you money, helps you prevent that impulse buying. So when's a bad time to shop? When you're hungry or when you're tired? Or really bad if you're hungry and tired. So anyway, so what happens when you shop when you're hungry and tired? Or what about if you're stressed? Does anybody eat carrots? No one stress eats carrots, including me. And so again, that list is going to help you. And so, like I say, sometimes I go to the store to get something and I don't get it, and then I have to go back. So more time, more gas, probably, more money because I got all the stuff I didn't need and I didn't get what I really wanted. And again, there's less food waste. So you want to shop. So, and sometimes when you shop, like I was telling my staff today, mostly I'm looking for what's the cheapest per ounce or something like that, per pound. I'm looking what is the most cost effective, except when I buy mayonnaise. I don't use a lot of mayonnaise, so I always buy the little jar, which costs less than the big jar, but per ounce it's not less, it's more. but I never get that big jar used before it expires. So I end up throwing away usually about half the jar. But on that little jar, I almost always get it used before it expires. And so sometimes you need to think about that too. You want to look for good prices, but you also want to think, am I going to get this used in time? If I buy 15 apples, are we going to eat those in 3 or 4 or 5 days? And so you want to look at that too, because sometimes that can be a false economy. And again, I don't want you to shy away from canned or frozen. I love frozen things even more than canned. Do you know why? Because I take out just what I want to use and I put the rest back in the freezer. If I open a can, there might be more there than I want to use. And so I'm a big proponent. Also, frozen and canned stuff are usually picked at the height of their ripeness, and so they're most nutrient dense then, and their flavor is the best then. And so, not always, but usually the flavor is the best then. And so that's a good time to do that. I love fresh fruit too, but I have sometimes what I call in my refrigerator aspirational vegetables. They aspire to be cooked before they go bad, but it don't always happen. So then I have to feed them to my worms. Anyway, so you don't want a lot of aspirational fruits and vegetables in your house. And so if buying canned is the best, it will help you use your food more wisely, then do that. They have done studies. They're nutritionally comparable to fresh fruits. And so you want to look for low sodium, you want to look for packed in water or 100% juice. But those are some things. And you never want to buy a dented can. Why not? Because not always, but it can have ruptured the seal, and so bacteria can grow in it. So if you have a can that's like about to explode in your pantry, that didn't have a good seal. So just, try not to buy dented cans. I bought some cans a couple of months ago, and I dropped them when I was trying to put them away, and so they got dented. So I just told everybody, use these fast. But I'm clumsy. So again, they can be really budget friendly. Like I said, I like to look for the case lot sales. I like to look for online sometimes before I shop. That's usually a really good place because you can pull up if you have access to the internet and a computer, you can pull up the weekly ads, things like that. And so anyway, so don't shy away from canned and frozen. I hate canned peas. I like frozen peas. I hate canned spinach. I like frozen spinach. But I like fresh spinach the best. But I have to know that can use it, and get it done. So here's another one. You can cut costs with coupons. And so again, the weekly flyers, those are always available online. You can look at those. If you want to kind of pre-shop before you go out, you can plan your shopping. It would be crazy to go to 8 or 9 stores, or even 4 or 5, to get the best price of what you want at each store. But you can plan between maybe 1 or 2. I'm going to get most of this stuff here because overall they have the best prices for most of what I want. And then I'll go here for this one. And that might be okay because gas is expensive. And so you want to do that. You want to look for manufacturer's coupons. And again, a lot of times those are available online. And just download them. You can download them to your phone, and the checker can scan it right off of your phone. Digital coupons, those are really good. Something else, case lot sales, rewards cards. How many of you have rewards cards? Get a rewards card. Yeah, it helps. And then here's a really important thing. When you go to the store, take a calculator. If you don't like using calculator, you want to use your phone, whatever. I actually am old-fashioned. I like my calculator better than my phone. It takes me a while to find the app. I always know where my calculator is. Anyway, and so because sometimes you'll maybe look at something that looks cheaper, but there's only 10 ounces in it. And the more expensive thing might have 14 ounces in it. So if you figure out per ounce what those cost, you might find sometimes it surprises you. Maybe the 10-ounce one is cheaper, but you want to know that. And so it's always important because a lot of times they don't put enough information on that little tag. So 3 of them will say, what the ounce what it is per ounce, but then one of them say what it is for a pound. And so if you have a calculator, you can divide that by 16 because we know there's 16 ounces in a pound. And so that's another good way to save. If you take a calculator with you. And so store brands. And so last week I looked this up for a game that I was playing for one of the classes I taught. And so canned peas. So if you look at the national brands, interesting. At Target, the national brand was less expensive than Target's brand. But at Smith's is a lot more expensive. And at Walmart is a lot more expensive. So we're like looking at Del Monte, I think was the one that I was at. Not every store carried the same, but they all carried a national brand. Maybe Green Giant, maybe Del Monte, whatever. Albertsons, again, is different. Sprouts is different. Whole Foods. So, do you get more nutritious food at Whole Foods? No, you don't. An orange is an orange. What you get is maybe healthier pesticides. Healthier. Less damaging, let's put it that way, less damaging pesticides. But the nutritional value of the fruit or vegetable is not greater. It's the same. It is what it is. And so, but it's a lot more expensive at Whole Foods. So you're not getting anything really. They have done a lot of studies. I mean, certainly pesticides, non-organic pesticides are troublesome. But here's what all the research for the past several decades has shown. It's more important to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and grains, whole grains and beans. So it's more important to eat a lot of plants than it is for you to buy organic. If you give your body a lot of plants, your body can mitigate a lot of that damage. As a matter of fact, if you go to a whole food plant-based diet, which is nothing refined or very, very little refined, and only plants, in 90 days you can downregulate every single cancer-causing gene in your body. 90 days. Doesn't mean you won't get cancer, but you way improved your odds, way. So again, look at store brands. Here's another one, frozen mango. I had a whole bunch, but just put a couple on this. So again, so Smith's, we're talking a penny difference. And so then you can decide, well, do I want the national brand or do I want the store brand? There's not much difference there. Again, Walmart, and again, 1 penny. Albertson, there's a bigger spread. And actually, Albertson has the best price in frozen mango in their brand. Sprouts, their store brand's a little bit more expensive than the national brand. And again, Whole Foods didn't have a national brand. They only had their brand. And so again, a lot of these bags of mango were different amounts. And so I had to divide it to figure out what it costs per ounce. And that's why you, again, want to shop with that calculator or with your phone. You need your calculator on that. Here's another thing. Eating more fruits and vegetables can be daunting. Have you ever struggled with that? Just adding more fruits and vegetables to your diet? One thing to do is when you get home, before you put them away, chop them up a little bit. Make carrot sticks, make celery sticks. If you want to make a soup, then you just have to go and add them in. There's less chopping to do. When I was going to school full time and working full time and raising my kids, my nemesis was chopping. That is, prepping the food before you cook it takes a long time. But if you go shopping on a Saturday morning or afternoon or whatever, and you come home and you just prep a lot of it so that when you open that refrigerator, you can either eat it right away as a snack, or you can use it, cut up as much as you have, or you can cut it up a little bit more, and it really helps because you're just doing it all together at once. So it's a bigger block of time initially, but the rest of the week when you're tired and hungry, it really helps to make better choices to eat healthier. So my husband, when I shop, unless I'm shopping for him, I don't buy cookies and stuff and pies and things like that unless he's asked me to pick one up for him or something. But if I come home tired and hungry and it's on the counter, what am I going to eat? I'm going to make a salad. I'm going to have a slice of pie. I'm going to have a slice of pie because it's there and I'm tired and I'm hungry and it is the path of least resistance. But if I have my apples washed and my carrots cut up into sticks and things like that, then that makes that an easier choice because I don't have to do it all right then and there. So that really helps. And my husband always says, well, use self-control. And I said, I do when I shop. I don't bring it home. So I don't use this list, but I always try to have a list on my phone. Otherwise, I forget, what we need. I'm really bad about that. So here's another thing. You can make trail mix, or you can boil some eggs at the beginning of the week and peel them and store them in a jar. And these are things that you can just grab and eat, uh, for a quick snack. Or if you're going to cook the beans or the rice or make a lasagna, double the batch and freeze what you're not going to use. And so I try to cook a pot of beans. Well, I used to cook one every week. It's just too hot now. But when I do, I portion out smaller portions and I stick it in the freezer so that I can use it and not waste them, so I can get them eaten before they go bad too. So you can do that with that. Again, like I say, just cut those things up and have them ready to go. It just will, when you actually come home to cook at the end of that day and you're tired, you've cut off 30, 40 minutes of prep time, and that makes a big difference. Use leftovers. How many of you love leftovers? Some people hate them. I like leftovers. I like them for breakfast. I like them for lunch. I like them for dinner. I like them anytime I don't have to cook again. Anyway, so I actually don't enjoy cooking that much. But you want to put them in the fridge where you will remember to use them. And so how many of you have been looking for something in the fridge and, dang, I forgot about that. And it's all moldy and nasty. Yeah, we all have. And so you want to sort of organize your fridge so maybe you know where your leftovers are. Maybe you want to put them in just a specific place in your fridge so that you know to look there first. And again, you want to date them. I always have some masking tape and a pen in my kitchen so that I can date them so that I know hopefully I'll get these gotten rid of in 3 or 4 days. But if there's been there a week, then there might be a food safety issue, and so I don't want to eat it then. But it helps you use them up. And so you combine them with other foods to make a meal. So you have some leftover chicken, fine, make a casserole. Make a tostada, make a taco, make a sandwich, whatever. You can use them up, and so do that. Look for things to do. There's a bazillion recipes online that you can find. But again, if you're doing that cycle menu, and you're making chicken one day, then the next day you're having chicken salad. That's the next thing on the cycle menu. So and that really saves time, but I think it saves stress. I just hate it when people say, "What's for dinner?" That's the question I hate most in life. So anyway, because I live in a house full of adults. Why is it why am I? Anyway, so again, it saves money and it reduces food waste and it's better for the environment. So you want to try not to send food to the landfill. So, how many of you own a crock pot? It's great. Your crock pot doesn't put out that much heat. And so you can cook a nice meal in a crock pot and not heat up the kitchen so much, and so that's really nice. Or if you put it in before you go to work, you come home and dinner's made. I mean, isn't that nice? I love that. I just, when I come home at night, I don't want to cook. I really don't. I just want it to be magically appear there. So, and a crock pot is pretty close to that. So anyway, so use a crock pot, and again, it's a great way. You can cook the whole meal in it, or you can just cook part of the meal in it. So it's good. And barbecue, put some barbecue ribs in there, and then have a salad or baked potato, whatever. You can do that. Another thing is, how many of you garden? Okay, all right. So a lot of times, we may not have enough land to garden. Or it's hard to get started. And so if you'd like to start gardening, there's a class offered by ICAN online. It's called Seed to Supper. And it starts with basic gardening here in New Mexico for our climate. And so it's a really good one. It's self-paced. So there's a lot of good information there. But you can also grow different types of garden. You can grow a salsa garden, you can grow an herb garden, you can grow a salad garden. There's lots of things that you can, you're not sure you want. Maybe you hate zucchini, so don't plant it. Or maybe, you just don't know what to do with eggplant, then don't plant it. But you can grow what, again, it's like when you store food, you want to grow what you like to eat, and that's really helpful. Uh, the cool thing about garden is you can have a spring garden, a summer garden, a fall garden, and a winter garden. And so you plant different things at different times. But you can keep that garden growing, producing for you all year round. A couple of years ago, so when it gets below 45 degrees, that's when your tomatoes start tasting nasty. That's why you don't want to store your tomatoes in your refrigerator, because they lose all flavor, because they have an enzyme in them that's activated at 45 degrees. And so if it gets below that, then they get not very well tasting. Well, I had a tomato plant in a container out front in my yard, and it was going to be a freeze. It was going to get below that 45 degrees that night. And so I just moved that container plant in, and I had fresh tomatoes through March because I just put it in my back room and let the sun shine in that south exposure. And I had tomatoes, and I said to my husband, "You want a tomato?" He said, "Is it your tomato?" I said, "Yes." And they tasted good. So you can sometimes move stuff inside and keep it going longer. Prune it down. That will help it produce better. But here's another thing: when you grow your own garden, then you decide if you're going to put a pesticide on it, and if so, what kind, and what purpose, and how much. And so it's much better. And gardening counts as exercise in terms of physical activity. So you go out there and garden, and you're getting some of your minutes of exercise in each day. And so it's just great to be out there. And so again, there's on the far left, there's the in-ground garden, and then there's a raised bed garden, container gardening. And this is the kind that I do. I do self-watering containers. It costs a little more to set up. This guy's pretty good. This was $10 when he made this. Probably about $15, $16, $17 now to do it, but it lasts a long time. But when you do, and the reason I like to garden this way, because it's very water economical. When it's really hot, I might have to water every 5 days, but normally about once a week. And the reason that is the water goes into a reservoir on the bottom and it wicks up. And if you mulch on top, then you lose very little to evaporation. So there's different types of gardening. Lots of things online, but again, we have the Seed to Supper program that you can do. All right, so that's the 10 tips. And now let's talk about what we've learned tonight. So you may have gotten some ideas today, but the truth is by tomorrow morning, you might remember somewhere between 5 and 20%. Right? And you'll think, oh, what was that? Right? Well, first of all, you're going to get the PowerPoint, so that'll help. But here's the thing. It's really hard. It's really hard to make lifestyle changes. These things, they're easy to talk about, but they are not easy to do necessarily. Everybody knows what healthy food is. Almost nobody knows how to eat a healthy diet because there's a disconnect. And so ICAN can help you. We offer free classes, free nutrition and cooking classes. And our goal, if you go back to that first slide, is to empower families to make better choices most of the time regarding their diet and physical activity. Because even small gains can add up to really big gains. So, it all adds up and together. And I always say, improvement is improvement. It doesn't matter if it's small. So what do we offer? We offer nutrition classes, basic human nutrition, cooking skills, meal planning, food safety, food resource management. That's, again, how to get the most out of your SNAP dollars, and physical activity. And it's 100% federally funded, so it doesn't cost anybody that's taking the class anything. But it's not cheap. Each lesson, by the time you put in everything that went into that, starts at about $325, and then for every participant it goes up about $5. And so when people sign up, we want people to be committed because we are grant funded. And we have 2 deliverables, and those are graduates and good data. All the data is de-identified. So you know, but you get really cool. There's some nice incentives you get at the end of the lessons. But the best thing you get is that education, because it's very empowering. And sometimes it spills over into other areas of your life. So I have a good friend, Sarah, and she started out going to WIC when her first child was born. She didn't really know how to feed him a healthy, her family a healthy diet. So she started out WIC, and she took our classes. And, she worked at applying the things that she had learned. And she learned to manage her money better and to make better choices and to feed her family better. And then she thought, you know what? Maybe I can go back to school. And so she went back to school. She got her bachelor's, and then she eventually got her master's. But it started with the class that she took. It can be very empowering, and so we hope that people do it. So ICAN, it's evidence-based. I'm the supervisor, so I go and make sure everybody's toeing the line, teaching, real truth, because I have this thing on nutrition is really difficult to research, and there's a lot of bad information out there that isn't. So ours is evidence-based. It's been tested with control groups and things like that, and so it's gone through rigorous testing, although it's not perfect, because nutrition is really hard to test, because they don't put you in a cage and feed you just what they want you to feed you. Anyway, although sometimes they do, but not very often. But I just want to, you're not going to be able to read this really easily, so let me just see if I can see this. So again, 96% of our adult series clients improve their diet practices. That's huge. 96% started making better choices. 94% of adults surveyed improved their food management resources. Okay, so they're spending their money better. They're putting a couple of cans away each month or so. 61% actually lowered their grocery bill. That's huge. Those are huge numbers. 65% did more exercise. They moved more. That's huge too. So these are really big things. 93%, okay, so that was in 21. This year, it was partially, but still 93% improved their diet. 86% of the youth surveyed also started eating more fruits and vegetables, because we teach children too. 87%, this is impressive, improved their food management. So that went up from 61 to 87%. And again, right now, it's just really important it's really necessary to manage your money better. And then 35% of our, we partnered with 35% more communities and schools last year. So what I want to say is, if you want to feed yourself or your family better, if you want to get healthier, if you want to save money at the grocery store, and if you just want to do something really good for yourself, we can help. So if you're interested, we are here. We can take your information. We can set up a class for those who want to attend. So if you are a single adult, older, we would teach a SNAP class called Eating Smart, Being Active. No, Live Strong. Eat Smart, Live Strong. That's 4 weeks. It's great information, though. If you are caring for and feeding children at least 2 meals a day and you're SNAP eligible, or even if 50% of our class is SNAP eligible, we can have others join too. We would like to teach the expanded food and nutrition education curriculum, which is Eat Smart, Be Active. That's 8 to 9 weeks. It's a bigger commitment, but you get more incentives at the end of it. But like again, I said, you could be like Sarah, and you can get that information and run with it and really improve your life. So anyway, that is the end of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions? They'll be mailing the PowerPoint. So yeah.
Yeah, that vinegar one. That vinegar, you smell that?
Yeah, you might smell it for a while. Yeah. But if you put it on your fruits and vegetables, then you wash it off. You don't just leave it on there. You just leave it on there for about a minute or so, let it kill the bacteria, and then you want to wash it off, rinse it well. And also, after it's killed the bacteria on your counter, you can get a clean dishcloth and put clean water on it and wipe away the vinegar smell too. What else?
I know a couple of people I know make smoothies and use kale and they use all kinds of things like mushrooms that come in a packet. Uh, it seems like it's a very healthy way
Mm-hmm.
to start the day. It's also pretty expensive.
Right. So kale isn't that expensive.
No, not kale.
And bananas are really not that expensive. And so, you might buy some frozen blueberries because you're only going to use what you want. You don't have to put in all those things. But if you want to get the most out of it, you just want to eat the kale and the banana and the blueberries and not put them in a smoothie because, again, you get more fiber that way. So I was teaching my class about fiber the other week, and um, when you let that fiber make it to your large intestine, we have bacteria there. It's called our microbiome, and they digest a little bit of that fiber, but they make things like butyrate, which helps fight some kinds of cancers. Again, they're eating calories that you didn't absorb in the small intestine, so it's good for weight loss. But things like vitamin K is made in our large intestine by those bacteria, so you don't bleed out if you cut yourself shaving, because vitamin K helps with your clotting factors. Or like 90% of our serotonin, which is a brain chemical, really important for good mental health, is actually made by those bacteria in your large intestine. And so it's good to have a high fiber diet. So when you blenderize something, you destroy most of the fiber. You still get all the vitamins and minerals, so they're good. But it's like one day Emily says, "That's a drink. Why are you chewing?" And I said, "Because this is my chunky. It's not my smoothie, it's my chunky." Because when I do make a smoothie, because sometimes I just can't eat another salad and you want to get a lot of greens in every day. It's just easier for me to blenderize those babies. But I leave it chunky so that I have to do some chewing, so that some of that makes it to my large intestine for my bacteria there. So, but look for things that you like. So what about some canned pineapple in juice? 100% juice. You can pour that juice in. You can pour that pineapple in. You can put in a banana. You can put in some greens, the kale, the spinach, whatever, and make a nice smoothie with that. So I like a little soy milk or almond milk in my smoothies. Like here again, if you're drinking plant-based milks, which are really a juice, like my friend Jake says, if it doesn't come from a teat, it's juice. Anyway, but if you like drinking, soy milk or oat milk or rice milk or almond milk or whatever, shake that container before you pour it into your glass or on your bowl. And the reason that is the calcium that they put in it will precipitate to the bottom. But if you shake it up, then that calcium is more available. It doesn't just get thrown away at the end of the carton. So, any other questions? Anything from online? Okay, well that means I probably did an okay presenting. Okay, or I didn't do a good job at all. Anyway, so thank you for having me. I wanted to come last year, so I'm so grateful that they called me again this year. I really appreciate this, and anything that I can do to help. I was so impressed with Anne and all that she was able to accomplish, and I'm glad the organization is carrying on because the work that you all do is so incredibly important. And I want to thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. Thanks. If you would like a shopping list, we have some. And if you'd like to sign up for, maybe if you want us to contact you about further education, it's free. We'll get your information. So.
Give a round of applause again to Miss Suzanne Porter-Baiton. Thank you. So I was informed next week we're not having our dinner next week, but on 8/7, we're having Heather Cohen, sexual harassment in the workplace presentation. So be sure to spread the word, and I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.